Hey legends, and welcome back to another Automobilista 2 update. This time we have version 0.9.3.1, largely a small housekeeping update with not too much focus on new content, but rather just refinements on the force feedback, physics, and AI. Because it's not a massive patch, we're going to read through the patch notes very quickly and then jump into a race with the track and car combo that we know very, very well and judge how it all feels. Now, this is apparently going to be the very last major force feedback update before the 1.0 release, so this is quite a significant version if you're concerned about how the game feels. So without further ado, make sure to smash subscribe to keep up to date with all news and reviews in the sim racing sphere, and let's get into the patch notes. This week's update features further housekeeping with focus again on the force feedback, physics, AI combo as these fronts begin to come full circle for the 1.0 release. Relative to last week, the force feedback changes have been a slight refactoring of the way steering arm forces pass on to force feedback, which should provide a slightly tighter wheel around the center. Slightly reduced the force feedback filters added in previous update and added soft lock for wheels that didn't have it. So that one's very welcome for me and any of the guys that might be running some of the stronger wheels, the direct drives and such, because I noticed that the filters that they added made the force feedback a lot more compressed feeling and a lot less, I guess, exuberant. It wasn't bad by any means, but it took away some of the excitement of driving some of the cars. Anyway, further force feedback changes from now will be restricted to bug fixes, track and car specific fine-tuning, and those resulting from physics adjustments. These can still add up to substantial differences, and we also plan to add a couple of car specific adjustments so users have some room to customize them to their preferences. But as far as the core system goes, however, we consider force feedback wrapped for 1.0, so that's massive. That means what you experience here is pretty much how the force feedback is going to be for the final release. One thing to note is that they've discontinued the old default profile as they said that they would for weeks, and there's only the one new FFB profile, and they say that an updated FFB guide will be posted soon. On the physics front, there's been another round of fine-tuning with most cars receiving a few updates, most substantial being bug fixes for FV10, Super V8, Copper Trucks, F-Classic G3, M3 and Superkart. Brakes have also been further fine-tuned, which is music to my ears and my mediocre Thrustmaster pedals. The main change being greatly reduced brake performance when cold. Okay. Tire physics on wet surface have also received attention, mostly fixing the excessive slick grip on a wet track for compounds in which that was an issue. Important, as usual, make sure to reset your setups if you had any changes from default autosaved. This is one of the reasons I haven't really delved into car setups in much detail with you guys thus far, mostly just to let you know the importance of car setups, but really with the physics, the core physics changing so much for every car with each and every update they release to the 1.0, it's kind of pointless having setups that you spend hours on. So the AI has received another calibration pass and performance parameters for practice/qualifying, which before were assigned globally for every car, causing a lot of fluctuation in AI performance for those sessions relative to their race skills, now have customized values per class, offering much better balance relative to their race performance. Balance of speed and slower corners versus high have also been further calibrated to be closer to the player's performance. That's all good. I still don't particularly enjoy racing the AI in this game. They tend to exhibit odd behaviors. They can exit certain corners way faster than you possibly can. They go through certain slow corners way too slowly, and the whole experience becomes very stunted. There are certain parts of a track you know you can overtake and certain parts where you know that they're inevitably going to get the lead on you, so it makes for a very interesting driving experience in a not too pleasant way. Important, please note that AI performance will probably be a bit faster overall, so you may need to lower your AI strength setting relative to the previous version to get the same performance from before. The AI still works better with settings around 100 strength and 50% aggression, with lower and higher values not offering the range of adjustment one would expect. Revising the AI strength logic is next on our to-do list. By and large, what they appear to be saying is that there's essentially only one AI level right now with minor adjustments in each direction, so if you find them too hard or too easy, don't worry, they're probably going to be working quite a lot on this leading up to the full release, and this is probably just a placeholder to get you to feel out where the AI is at this present point in time. The downside in the constant flow of updates over this early access period is the inconvenience of having to regularly review and reset settings, so we'd like to thank you all for bearing with us, etc, etc. Rest assured we expect things to begin settling down, allowing you to stop fiddling and focus on racing, or in my case, begin fiddling for real and waste weeks and weeks on car setups. On the content side, in this build we continue to explore the 1980s Brazilian racing scene, now adding the Brazilian Hot Cars series based on an early 80s spin-off of the popular Divisão. I'm sorry, I butchered that. that 3 category featuring popular cars tuned up to 11 to race around the old Interlagos and Jacarepagua. Apologies again if I butchered that, and those were the days. And beneath they link a relevant real race movie. So the changelog is largely covering what we've already talked about here. I'm not going to go through in an itemized list with you guys. Instead, we're going to jump straight to a race with a track and a car combo that we know very well. I'm going to talk through how what should be the final force feedback actually feels. Alright, welcome to the Rocco 001 at Adelaide Historic. Now you've probably seen this car and this track on my channel enough to kind of be sick of them both. However, I don't think you've seen them both together quite yet. The reason I picked them for this test is very, very obvious. So the Rocco has a very direct steering arm through to steering column force feedback thing going on. It's very direct. You get every bump, you get every gyroscopic force. It just feels amazing no matter what track you're racing on. And Adelaide Historic is one of the bumpiest circuits in the game, so, you know, in tandem, they're going to make for one of the best combinations to test out a new force feedback algorithm. So I just took about 10 minutes to reset all of my settings in AMS2 as per Reese's recommendation as part of the last patch. So I had to remap all my keys, all the controls, all of pretty much everything. So we should be good to go and give you an honest appraisal of what's going on. Alright, so blasting out onto this first straight here. Force feedback, I mean, whoa, okay, alright, first thing I can talk about here is the cold brake field. They weren't lying when they said that cold brakes are not going to brake. So the first corner or two, you have to really watch out now. So that's exciting. I already thought they were kind of unforgiving, but I guess they thought they weren't unforgiving enough. Now, in terms of the rest of the car, it's so hard to judge force feedback at this point because we've just been cycling through various shades of awesome when it comes to direct drive wheels over the last couple of weeks. I mean, this game it's had amazing force feedback since the very first early access release for me. Now, I know some of you guys have had various issues. I know a lot of guys came in talking about Thrustmaster wheels and Logitech wheels not really getting along with this game as well, and I'm hoping that they sort that out for you guys. If they have sorted it out for this version, do let me know down below. I'm legitimately curious. For me personally, it feels a little more exciting and a little more exuberant than the last version. There's less filters in the way, there's less compression of the signal in the way. And as you can see, even though I'm just warming up here, the force feedback in tandem with the new brake pedal feel is just allowing me to keep the car exactly where I need it to be at all times. It's just controllable and amazing. So that's another thing I want to talk about. With this version, I don't know if they've actually changed anything for brake pedal feel or if I'm just coming back to it for the first time in a few days and it just feels good again. But this is the best the brake has felt for me since the game's release. And I'm on very mediocre Thrustmaster T3PA Pro pedals. I've never quite gelled with these things, but for the first time I can feel myself almost accurately being able to trail brake into apexes and power the car on out. It feels good. For the first time it's all come together. In the past with the Rocco, when we were chasing all the leaderboard times and stuff, it was super fun, but I always had to worry about locking the brakes. Now, in fact, the brake pedal is so much less sensitive now that I have to jack up the brake pressure in the car setup itself. You can see very consistent, very accurate performance into the corner and then accelerate out. It's allowing me to drive this a lot closer to how I would drive cars in rFactor 2, namely the way I would drive them in real life. And the closer we get, the happier I am and the more excited I get about AMS2 as a product. It's still perhaps a little too unforgiving in certain circumstances. I don't really know how to quantify it in any terminology that would make sense, but there's just something feel-wise about the game that just, and don't take this the wrong way, I love this game, but there is something a little simcade about it. Something. I don't know what that quite is. I don't know if it's some leftover elements from Project Cars or the Madness engine that they haven't quite dialed in yet. But there are some things about this game that just feel a little too unforgiving. But that aside, even if it remained this way, I'd still be extremely happy that I purchased this game, because realism woes aside, it's fundamentally astoundingly immersive and fun to play, and really that's what it's all about, right? Trying to grab that a bit more aggressively, so you can see it's, I mean, the Rocco is a fairly forgiving automobile. You're always driving it on the limit. It wants to be kind of quasi-slid through most corners, but it tends to be one of the more forgiving examples of an automobile in this game. Brake feel, of course, brake pressure a lot better into those kinds of corners. You can judge it way easier now. Into the apex and then gradually out, nice and smooth. It just, with every new update, the game feels that little bit better to play. And you can just have fun with it. See, it's like, I basically slid, I dumped too much torque to the rear wheels coming out of that corner and just had fun the whole way out. So even if you're not chasing leaderboard times, you can just do laps and it's fun. I mean, I was gonna say I can do this for hours, but the thing is I have done this for hours. Many hours. I've about 120 hours in Automobilista 2 already. And that's during an early access release period, right? And mind you, doing this sim racing commentary stuff isn't even my full-time job, so... I mean, what do you say? It speaks for itself. But super fun pulling all this together. I'd recommend if you guys want to try this force feedback update for yourselves, give me your impressions on how your wheels react to it. Definitely use this track and car combo. They're just an amazing match. They're super fun to play. The Rocco is a little more forgiving on the curbs than perhaps some other track day style prototype cars. Certainly when I tried to drive the Sigma through here, I had better experiences in my life, that's for sure. We'll make this our very last lap. We'll just pass on through and conclude our run through this patch. But on the whole, as always, I'm pleasantly surprised. It's not a tremendous update for me. If it is for you, again, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. I want to know how it's treating you guys. I mean, I'm having as much fun with this game as the day that it came out, so no complaints really. Concluding with some spectacularly mediocre times, but that's all good. We're here to commentate and judge, and not be skilled, right? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Do let me know your thoughts and impressions down below if there's anything that I missed. I know that I didn't cover the AI, but I'm not big on the AI at the moment. I'm gonna wait for reasons to sort it out, then really talk about it in depth come the full 1.0 release when we do our full Automobilista 2 game review, our proper review to sort of function as an addendum to that early review that we did a month or two ago, whatever it was now. But anyhow, make sure to smash that subscribe to stay up to date with all future sim racing news and reviews, and until next time, we will see you guys.